What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Stella Herself podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you to everyone who posted this on their IG story last week. I love to see who listens, so take an aesthetic little boomerang or pic of your TV if you're watching this on your TV, or take a screenshot of you listening to it, post it, tag me. I will retweet that. It is March 1st, and the day this is going to go up. It is the first week of March, and I don't know, I feel like I'm so caught up in the new month, new me energy that I kind of forgot that it's low-key the lockdown anniversary month. I just saw a tweet actually right before filming this that was like, fuck you, March, we meet again. And I'm like, damn, I don't know, I kind of feel, I don't know, I always hesitate to say, oh, I actually feel good or I feel hopeful, because I don't want to ever be dismissive towards, people who have really struggled during the pandemic, whether that's, by losing their job or by losing a loved one or whatever. So please know that I am always keeping that in mind. But hopefully overall, things are looking up for the world as a whole, the country as a whole. And I will say, just for myself personally, I did talk about it last week, I believe, and in a couple of vlogs here and there, but Mercury retrograde really took a toll on me, it just did. And I just am happy and proud to say that I finally feel back to normal and back to my best self. I would feel my best self at this moment. I finally feel productive again. I feel on my shit. I feel excited. I feel hopeful. And I just think that maybe that has to do with the new month, new me energy and, just my personality type. I like having goals. I like organizing, my time and my month. And I love writing in my planner. So I think all of that stuff also probably contributes to why I feel better. And I know a lot of people can relate. So let me know how you've been feeling, and if you feel any different now maybe than you did beginning of February. But I just wanted to share with you a couple tips, things I've been doing that I didn't always do, and they've really been helping my life. The first one is, I did make an adulting type video, but just to reiterate, I use the app Mint for, just budgeting, financial planning, all of that. And I always kind of used it here and there. I've always just been good with money, and I'm really good at saving money. I'm not a spender. I have to be so sure about something before I buy it. With that being said, I did just buy a Redken shampoo and conditioner, and we're going to talk about that later, because I also have some hair stuff I want to talk. But that's an investment, No, but I'm not a frivolous spender at all. So I've always been pretty good at that. So anyway, I've used that app for 4 years. And what I started doing in January was literally writing down every purchase that I make. And then I would organize it which account it's coming out of, and then I would highlight it right there and then, if it was a business expense, or if I'm writing, I spent this much on Amazon, what exactly I bought. And that kind of seems like a lot, but it's really not crazy. I'm not writing down every individual item. If I go to Whole Foods, I'm not writing down everything I bought. I'm just writing Whole Foods. But something about that for me and my personality type, it's just made me so much more aware of where I'm spending my money. And then also for tax purposes, if you are self-employed, you got to pay your own taxes. You don't get that tax return. You have to pay taxes. So it's just helping me stay a lot more organized, for this upcoming, for next year's taxes. And yeah, it's just interesting to see when I spend more money and where I'm spending my money. And it's helpful for saving money, but then also I'm just kind of excited to look back on it at the end of the year, oh, what did I buy? I don't know, because it's yeah, I can look at it online on my bank account, but something about writing it down in a notebook, it hits different. So I've been doing that. And I would recommend, if you want to save money, even just trying that for a week I've actually done the video, like how much I spend in a week. And when I did that, I think I did it in my notes app. Like I just wrote down everything that I purchased. Even that can be helpful because you can kind of see, it's a little bit of a smaller scale, but you can still kind of see like where you're spending your money and like how much. And yeah, it's just a lot more specific than just seeing like, oh, I spent this amount of money this month. It's like, okay, well, where did you spend it? Like, how were you spending it? Also, stretching every day, but I've been doing that. So more specifically, I have a long foam roller, and at the end of my workout or my yoga or my stretching or whatever, I've been doing kind of like a mini meditation, just lying with the foam roller down my back. So my chest therefore has to be opened up, and especially right after that, I stand up from it after like a few minutes, and my posture is just naturally like perfect. Like you feel your chest, it's just so much more open. And I swear I've noticed a difference in my everyday life, like just feeling my posture, and like it's just easier to have better posture. I think I shared with you guys on Twitter, maybe on the podcast, but one of my February goals was to do the splits. I didn't do, part of me was like, I could do like stretches for the splits videos every day. I definitely stretched pretty much every day and did yoga almost every day. And I'm definitely a lot more flexible and a lot closer. So I can't do it all the way. But then again, I didn't push myself as hard as I could have. But I kind of forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, just flexibility and whatnot. Like, it's just crazy what your body is capable of, I guess, because it just seems like, oh, I've always been this way. I've never had good posture. I've never been able to stretch, do this stretch, whatever. But it's like, it really be the little everyday things you do that make up big change. So with that being said, going off that note, also I just want to say my coffee today is so good. Just a cold brew with oat milk. No sweetener this time. Going off of that, as far as like little things. So this past weekend, I went to this little outdoor, it was kind of like half farmer's market, half flea market. I wasn't really there for that long. I think I was there very early. I don't know. It was just kind of like, okay, we saw everything, bye. Whatever. But then we went to drop, it was me and my friend and my other friend, so we were going to drop off our friend in the back seat. Then my other friend had to go get something, whatever. So I'm just like standing outside the car, like basically leaned against the car. And it's just this sunny, like early afternoon. And part of me was like, I almost for 1 second felt a little impatient because I think it was one of those things where it was like, oh, I forgot to grab this. Like we're about to leave. And then it's like, oh, wait. So part of me was like, but then I was like just standing in the sun, listening to the birds, fucking feeling the sun on my face. And I was like, I think this is what like true peace is. I was like, hey, I don't think it gets any better than this. Like, I'm like, I don't have any stress right now. I'm not like, yeah, I did feel impatient for 1 second, but then I was able to recognize that and be like, you know what? Enjoy this moment and live in this moment. And I feel like that, I don't know, I feel like as I get older and older, I realize more that it's not like life is ever going to start, or like, I don't know, I feel like we almost subconsciously expect certain achievements or goals or circumstances to feel like a movie or to feel like this special, crazy, whatever. But I feel like it only ever feels like that when you're looking back on something and it becomes like this fragment of a memory or like an event in your mind, and you're like telling yourself this story about it. So therefore, like, okay, it's kind of like a movie. It has a beginning, middle, and end, and like this is what happened, and like this is what was said, and like this is how it felt. But as you're experiencing life, it usually doesn't feel like that, you know, unless you're listening to a song, looking out the window, and then you're like, feels like I'm in a movie right now. But like not, that's like different, you know. So I just kind of had this moment where I was like, wow, I think this is like what true inner peace is. Like just almost like what the way of Zen sad. Like, it's almost just like a nothingness. Like, it just is. It's like, it's not like anything crazy is happening right now. I'm literally just standing here in the sun, wearing my SPF, of course, waiting for my friend to fucking get something, go pee, whatever. I'm like, I don't think I couldn't really ask for anything more right now. Like, this is kind of perfect. So I just wanted to share that because I think especially in this day and age, social media has ruined this generation. No, but especially when we are constantly, it's like not only do we have this like example of movies, but then it's like we're constantly seeing other people's lives, quote unquote, and the highlights, you know, from people's lives on social media, and comparing ourselves and feeling like we want more and we want to be more and experience more and we want the perfect vacation and the perfect relationship and whatever. But that's not real. I swear to God, it only ever feels like that when you're looking back on it. And I think another example is like when you have a really bomb night out, or like just some kind of like iconic memory with you and your friends, you know? And it's like, as you were living that, you weren't necessarily thinking, unless you like really stepped back and was like, this is perfect. But usually it's like you're not thinking that as you're living it. It's like the morning after, when you're having that what happened last night talk with your friends. It's like that's kind of like what life is, because it's like we just have our memories replaying, and it's like they're replaying as we, not only as we experience them, but also as we're telling ourselves that how they went. Does that make sense? I don't know, something I've kind of been thinking about. But yeah, I think, you know, especially as someone who has definitely struggled with a lot of anxiety and like bullshit like that, constantly reminding myself of these ideas has been really powerful, I guess, in just relaxing. I just want to chill. Like, that's really all I want in this life. So let me know if you've ever thought about that. And yeah, I just think it's a really interesting idea. And like, I feel like on going off of that, I've really been, you know, playing a lot with like my breath and just grounding myself in my body. And I feel like that's just kind of a result of like the Yoga with Adrienne breath journey, but really just like basically, but you know, as it's March now, it's almost been a full year since I've been doing yoga, not recently, regularly. And I just feel like I'm grateful for that. Like, not that I'm grateful for the pandemic, but I am grateful that I took the opportunity of not being able to go to the gym to do this. And yeah, that too. It's like sometimes we feel like we want to set a goal. Like, I'm going to do this every day. And sometimes it's kind of hard to stick to that. But I just found for myself, it was something I just kind of naturally wanted to continue to do. And it's not like I ever told myself like, okay, I'm going to do this every day, or I'm going to do this for a year. It's like I just kept doing it, and I wasn't even necessarily thinking about it. And that's not to say that like we can't push ourselves, because sometimes you do have to implement the force yourself method. But I think it's interesting like when things just happen naturally like that, and you just kind of go with like almost your intuition, or just like how you feel like this feels good, and that's as deep as I'm going to go with it. So I'm going to keep going with it. But yeah, I know it's been said before, but just imagine like telling yourself what the fuck was going to happen a year ago. Like, that is crazy. Wow. Okay, so this is like kind of off topic, kind of. But y'all have heard me talk about dating apps and how I'm kind of like, But then I saw this TikTok where this girl was like, you know, people want to meet someone naturally and in real life, and they want this little like, oh, I saw him at Whole Foods and he was buying oat milk, the same oat milk as me. And that's when I just knew. I mean, she didn't use that exact example, but she did use the example. She was like, the cute guy that you see in Trader Joe's, he still has a cringy ass dating, you know, Hinge, Tinder, whatever profile. she was like, he's calling himself a sapiosexual on there. And I feel like, especially with our generation, it's like, it's just so much more normal to do that. But something about her saying, like, every guy you see, or every person, and obviously not everyone, but you know what I mean, like, that cute guy you see, that cute girl you see, like, they have a profile too. Like, it's not necessarily better to meet someone in real life. And that just kind of, like, I don't want to say that completely changed my perspective, but it definitely did a little bit. I was kind of like, damn, you're right. Like, what the fuck? So I just had to share that. I don't know. It's not like, I don't know. I just feel like I do prefer feeling someone's vibes IRL, because I do think, especially when you're going for straight guys, a lot of them are dusty. And then the ones that are either photogenic or know how to take good IGs or know how to pose or know their angles, it's kind of like, I don't know if that's something that I necessarily want. But those are the ones that are going to look the best online, like on a profile. Whereas someone might not take the best pictures, but they might be fine in real life, and they might just have like good energy, you know? Like, I just feel like looks, like, yeah, you can be attracted to someone or be like, oh yeah, I would agree with you that they are attractive, but not be attracted to them, you know? And there's only so much that you can really, like, feel over vibes, over text. I don't know. But hearing that definitely kind of, like, shifted my perspective. And it's just kind of like, damn. And, okay, I want to share this with y'all, because me and some of my friends are just like, damn, like bored. And I don't feel like, this is the thing. I was kind of like, I feel like I'm actually glad that I'm having this realization, because I genuinely feel like whole in myself. And I'm like, it's not like I'm like thirsty for a relationship or like a boyfriend or anything, but I just kind of want the entertainment. So I was kind of like, okay, like, that's okay, you know, like, and I feel like that, I don't know, I just feel like there's a difference between, like, feeling some kind of, like, emptiness in yourself, and I mean, boredom can definitely be that, but as far as, like, oh my god, I want to be in a relationship, like, that's, like, the fact that I'm not is holding me back in my life, and I won't be able to experience my true life until I find a significant other. And then there's just, like, damn, where the hoes are, like, I'm kind of bored. So I don't know. And I also did want to say, and I'm talking about this just because I made a video, kind of like a rant, just very chit-chatty video about decentering romance, and like how I've kind of experienced that, especially over the pandemic and these past few months especially. Kind of what that means to me, how I view dating differently now. I guess differently. More realizations, you know? And yeah. So, like, over this past weekend, me and my friends are talking, just like, oh my god, like, I want a little boyfriend, like, oh my god. So I was kind of like, to myself, like, analyzing how I felt. Virgo moon things. I'm like, yeah, it's not like this, like, oh my god, I want to be in a relationship so bad. It's just kind of like, I want to go out. Like, I want to be cute. Like, it's like, it's just a different kind of energy. And with that, I wanted to add on to that. When I talk about, like, decentering romance, or, oh, like, marriage is actually harmful for a majority of women, it's like, I'm not trying to convince anyone to, like, not date or, like, not be in a relationship. And not that anyone has ever said this, but I guess I just wanted to say it, like, on my own, like, for my own self. I feel like, for me at least, it's like, I want to educate myself, and then therefore, like, share what I've learned and read and whatever, just so that I and whoever is interested, just so that we can, like, make decisions when it comes to dating and relationships and whatever, out of genuine, like, genuine love or genuine feelings, or just genuinely like, this is something that I want to do, or this is somebody that I want to spend my life or time with, and not out of this like fear perpetuated by traditional patriarchy and gender roles, like, you are nothing without marriage, you are nothing if you're not a wife, if you're single you are a whore or an old maid, you know. And the book Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism has this, it's basically like the whole chapter summarized, the whole book summarized in one chapter, just how in societies where there's more of an equal pay, more equal pay between men and women, and basically women can survive on their own and they don't have to rely on a husband to, you know, provide for them. A lot more women actually report better, they're more satisfied in sexual relationships and just in relationships in general. I was going to say in gender, because they are able to choose, you know, who they want to be with. They don't have to be with someone out of necessity. You know, they're not with this guy just because, okay, if, you know, if I'm with him, if I choose to marry him, he's going to always make sure there's a roof over my head. It's like, no, I can actually provide my own roof. And therefore, like, a relationship, a man, even a husband, a boyfriend, whatever, is, you know, I'm choosing that because I want that and not because it's like this necessity out of like fear. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about sometime last year. You remember me from last year? You know, making decisions, especially when it comes to dating and relationships, making decisions out of love. And, you know, love, you can use that. You could use a different word for sure, but whatever, kind of sums it up for me. Making decisions out of love rather than fear. And I think honestly it comes down to like self-love. So something to think about, definitely. But yeah, sometimes I don't know if I was kind of like questioning how I felt like, oh, well, you know, I've been doing all this talking about like decentering romance, but then I'm still like, oh no, like I want, and I mean, some of that is just like completely natural and normal, and then some of it is kind of probably like, okay, we've been conditioned to think that male attention is like the only important thing in life. And then yeah, like there's just so many different factors, but I think being aware of it, and again, like educating ourselves on why, just like almost like the history of where these ideas come from, and therefore where the feelings come from, therefore we're able to make more well-informed decisions. I don't know how long the camera was off for, so my apologies, but I saw another TikTok that I wanted to mention. This girl said, oh, we look at other women through the female gaze, whereas we view ourselves through the male gaze, and that's why it's so easy to, you know, maybe something you don't like about yourself seems so beautiful on another woman because you're looking at it from your own perspective, whereas whatever thing it is, like, I don't know, like, I'm so insecure sometimes about my hip dips and just lack of hips, but then I see someone else with that and I'm like, oh my god, like, I don't even think anything of it, like, I'm just like, oh, they're cute, like, whatever. Or like this girl literally made this TikTok about her hip dips. She was like, it looks like I have no butt from the front. But I was like, her body's so cute and like nice. Like, what the fuck? I'm like, I didn't look exactly like her, but just a similar, you know, I don't have a butt until I turn to the side. Like, you can't, it's just very like straight. And it's like, oh my god, it's like I'm viewing myself with like this idea of like, oh, this is how women should look. This is what's sexy. And then they went on in the other TikTok, like where the girl was explaining this idea, you know, the female gaze is a little more like we just view beauty differently, and it's not as cookie cutter, and it's like it can be so many different things, and it goes beyond just the physical exterior. Like, there's more depth to it. So if we could view ourselves through that, it's like it opens up a whole new world. Then I saw another bro, my For You page is just buzzing with ideas. This guy actually made a TikTok about how the male gaze kind of ruins men's expectations for relationships. I think is how he phrased it. But basically just, in a lot of movies and popular movies, Hollywood, these female characters are written by men. So the female characters are like written from a man's perspective. So it's like what men think women think, how men think women act, So guys watch that and think like, oh, this is how I treat women. This is how women think. This is, how I go about dating women or talking to them or whatever, when it's actually very inaccurate a lot of the time. Bro, when like everything's a scam. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. So that's also interesting. I feel like, because sometimes I'm like, fuck, what am I supposed to do then? But I do think it comes down to always like just working on yourself, or like being content with yourself and just being present and like self-love. And once you feel whole in yourself, and that can definitely vary from day to day, week to week, month to month, bitch, year to year. Sometimes it's going to be harder than other times. But if we are always kind of like working, and the way of Zen would say, it's not something to work on, it's just something it just is. But I'm going to say working on ourselves just for the sake of the fucking explanation. As long as we're working on feeling whole in ourselves, then a lot of other stuff is just going to be extra, like for fun. And that goes, I don't know, I feel like that can go for like dating, or like even like how we look or whatever. It's like, okay, like some things, it's like, okay, I don't need makeup, or it's like I don't need nails, or I don't need to get my hair done, or but it's like, okay, well, why not? Like, it's fun and extra. And like, what's wrong with fun and extra if you already have that baseline of like, I feel good in myself. Like, yeah, so I think that's honestly the secret, TBH. But let me know your fucking thoughts. Yeah. So going back to hair, we're kind of all over the place today. But my March goal is to just brush my hair a lot. I got the Redken shampoo and conditioner. And I watched another fucking TikTok, but this girl had like bleach blonde hair, like not even highlights, like just all the way bleach blonde, and her hair looked so healthy. So she was sharing like everything that she does. And I've seen a few TikToks now that say like, the girls are like, yeah, brush your hair for like 5 minutes a day. And I've definitely gotten better at it. But after seeing this stuff this past week, I'm like, okay, I really want to make it a habit. Like if I'm just sitting watching TV or like whatever, like I'm just going to brush my hair. I did get it cut and colored last week. So it's like I kind of want to maintain. Because it low-key there was so many dead ends. And it hasn't even been that long since I last got a trim. So I want to maintain this fresh and new for as long as possible. I feel like that's it low-key. It's Pisces season. So maybe that's why I'm feeling a little like romantic, but like not necessarily towards anyone, like just the vibe. Like I just feel very like, ooh. So it's, the season of dreaminess. We talked about it in the last episode. But yeah, I just feel this like lighter energy. I just feel like part of February felt so heavy, and it must have just been a Mercury retrograde, bitch. But like, yeah, it's about to be daylight savings. The birds have been just chirping so much, and it's getting so much lighter in the mornings, and it's just it just feels so good. Wow. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on any of this down below. Oh, also I ordered a book for March. I'm staying true to what I said I was going to do. So I will share that with you probably next week. It'll probably get here before then. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to post this on your story or tweet it to me, screenshot, boomerang, whatever. Love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you next week.